Introduction. Why systems beat goals. You don't need another ambitious goal to feel better about your life. What you truly need is a structure that actually works when things get messy. Goals are easy to write, exciting to imagine, and emotionally satisfying in the moment, but they almost never protect you on the hard days. Most people start strong. They buy a new notebook, write inspiring goals, make detailed plans, maybe even announce them to others. For a few days or weeks, they move with enthusiasm, driven by novelty and emotion. Then, real life shows up. Unexpected problems, tired mornings, financial stress, family issues, self-doubt, and old habits begin to quietly pull them back into their usual patterns. The goals are still there on paper, but the behavior doesn't match anymore. The same cycle repeats over and over. Big intention, short burst of effort, then silence. People start thinking they are the problem, that they are lazy, undisciplined, or not meant for more. But their failure is rarely about desire. It is almost always about the absence of a system that could have carried them when their motivation faded. That is the fundamental difference between goals and systems. A goal is a statement. A system is a lifestyle. A goal is something you write once. A system is something you live every day. A goal depends on motivation and emotion. A system depends on repetition and design. Goals say, here's what I want someday. Systems ask, what do I do today? When you rely only on goals, every day becomes a negotiation with your feelings. Do I feel like it? Am I in the mood? Do I have motivation right now? But when you rely on systems, the question becomes simpler. What's the next step my structure already decided? This doesn't mean goals are useless. They can give direction, a sense of where you want to go. The problem is when they become the only tool you depend on. Life is unpredictable. You will get tired. You will feel overwhelmed. You will face setbacks and confusion. In those moments, your goals are too far away to hold you. Only a system, a routine, a pattern, a set of behaviors designed in advance can support you and keep you moving. This audiobook is not about hyping you up for a few days and leaving you with a temporary rush that fades. It is not about turning you into a productivity robot or filling your days with never-ending effort. It is about something much more practical and powerful, learning to build systems that quietly shape your life from the inside out, systems that respect your energy, your reality, your personality, systems that reduce pressure instead of adding more. Systems that work with who you are now while helping you become who you want to be. You don't need louder dreams, you need smarter patterns. The chapters ahead will walk you through how to choose daily actions that match the life you want, how to design habits that feel natural instead of forced, how to remove pressure by focusing only on today, how to calm an overwhelmed mind with structure, and how to let your habits, not your goals, tell the real story of who you are becoming. If you're tired of starting over, if you're done with the cycle of big intentions and quiet quitting, these ideas will give you a different way to live, a way where consistency feels possible, progress feels real, and your future is built one simple, intentional system at a time.
Choose actions that match the life you want. The life you want is not waiting for you somewhere in the future. It is being built, brick by brick, through the decisions you make today. Every choice you make is either a vote for the person you want to become or a vote for the person you used to be. Most people say they want a better life, but if you look closely at their daily actions, the story is different. They talk about wanting health, but most of their choices serve comfort and convenience. They talk about wanting wealth, but spend hours daily scrolling, avoiding hard work, or buying things that don't matter. They talk about wanting peace, yet surround themselves with negative content, constant noise, and draining people. The gap between the life they say they want and the life they actually live is created by their actions, not their intentions. You don't get what you want by repeating it out loud or writing it in a journal. You get what you want by proving it through behavior, consistently, when it's exciting and when it's not. That is the difference between people who grow and people who stay stuck. Not desire, not talent, but the willingness to let their daily actions align with their deepest values. Systems matter more than goals, because systems are made of actions you repeat, not words you say. A goal says, I want to be fit. A system says, I move my body every morning, even if it's just for 10 minutes. A goal says, I want to be financially free. A system says, every week I review my money, spend intentionally, and invest a portion, no matter how small. A goal says, I want a calmer mind. A system says, I limit my screen time, protect quiet moments, and choose what I feed my attention. A goal is a wish. A system is proof. People who build systems don't wake up hoping their life might change one day. They wake up and live in a way that makes change unavoidable over time. That's why systems win, because they're rooted in daily decisions instead of emotional declarations. They don't depend on you always feeling inspired. They depend on you honoring a structure you've already decided matters. If you truly want to change your life, don't start with a distant dream. Start with your next move. Ask yourself honestly, what kind of life do I really want? Not what others expect, not what looks impressive, but what genuinely matters to you. Then ask, what does that life require from me today? If you want peace, maybe you stop reaching for your phone the moment you wake up and give yourself 10 minutes of stillness instead. If you want strength, maybe you stop negotiating with yourself about basic movement and simply make exercise non-negotiable in a way that fits your current capacity. If you want success, maybe you stop waiting to feel perfectly ready and begin with the smallest meaningful step you can take. Life doesn't change through intensity for 1 week. It changes through direction, repeated daily. You don't need to do everything at once. You need to do the right thing next. When your actions start to match the life you say you want, progress becomes almost automatic. You still feel effort, but you don't feel confusion about whether you're moving in the right direction.
Most people live in two separate worlds. One lives in their imagination, where they see the dream version of themselves, disciplined, calm, successful, focused. The other lives in their habits, where they hit snooze, procrastinate, overthink, and react to everything. When those two worlds don't match, frustration grows. You feel stuck not because you can't imagine more, but because your routines are loyal to your past identity. You've practiced being the old you for years. That's why change feels hard. It's not your potential that's limited, it's your patterns that are familiar. Real change doesn't come from wanting something new. It comes from doing something new, consistently enough that it starts to feel like the new normal. You don't need better theories, you need better patterns. You don't need more inspiration, you need systems that quietly pull you forward even when willpower is low. That begins by deciding that your actions will finally start respecting your future instead of protecting your comfort. A practical way to begin aligning your actions with your desired life is to scan your day from start to finish. Start with your morning. Do you begin your day on purpose or in reaction? Do you wake up and immediately hand your attention to the world, messages, notifications, other people's priorities? Or do you take a few minutes to ground yourself, decide what matters, and set your focus? The first hour of your day doesn't have to be a perfect cinematic routine, but it does reveal how serious you are about building a better life. Next, look at how you spend your time. How many hours are invested in actions that truly move you forward, and how many are lost in distractions that feel busy but change nothing? Be honest, if very little of your day supports your highest priorities, you're not failing because of a lack of time, you're failing because of a lack of alignment. That's not something to feel guilty about, it's something to change. Shift one block of time at a time. Replace 30 minutes of scrolling with 30 minutes of focused work or learning. Replace a mindless habit with a meaningful one. Each adjustment is a brick in the new life you're building. Then consider your energy. Where does it go? Who drains it? What environments or habits quietly steal it from you? You can't sustain any system, no matter how well designed, if your energy is constantly leaking into stress, comparison, or unnecessary drama. Protecting your focus, your energy, and your attention is not selfish, it is essential. Your system is built out of your choices, your habits, and your routines. These are the tools you have to shape your future. Deep down, you already know which actions help you and which ones hurt you. You already feel the difference between days when you honor your values and days when you run from them. The work now is not pretending you don't know. The work is being honest enough to admit the gap and strong enough to start closing it. When your life becomes a reflection of a system you chose with intention, you no longer have to chase motivation every morning. You wake up with clarity. You go to bed with a sense of progress. You're not waiting for life to change one day. You're living like it matters today. Remember, you don't rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your system. And your system is nothing more than what you repeat. Not what you say, not what you plan, but what you live. So build it wisely, live it daily, and let each next action match the life you'll be proud to own.
Build patterns that feel natural, not forced. You don't need to force your way into a better life. Forcing is exactly where most people go wrong. They hear a motivational speech, read a book, or see someone's perfect routine online and decide, from tomorrow I'll completely change everything. They build change on pressure and willpower, stacking their days with strict habits, intense schedules, and unrealistic expectations. For a few days, maybe even a couple of weeks, they push hard. They feel proud because it looks impressive. But inside, it doesn't feel like them. It feels like they're acting out someone else's script. Every day becomes a battle between who they are and who they're pretending to be. That constant inner friction drains energy. Soon, the resistance grows so heavy that they begin skipping their new habits, feeling guilty, then avoiding them altogether. Not because they're lazy, but because the system they created was never designed for their real life. Lasting change doesn't start with pressure. It starts with patterns that feel natural, realistic, and gently challenging, but still connected to who you truly are right now, not to some imaginary perfect version of you. When you try to copy someone else's discipline without understanding your own nature, you unintentionally build a system that works against you instead of for you. Maybe you saw a video of an entrepreneur waking up at 4 a.m., working out for an hour, journaling for 30 minutes, reading 10 pages, then doing deep work for 4 hours straight. It looked powerful, so you thought, I should do that too. But you didn't ask a crucial question. Does this fit my life, my body clock, my responsibilities, and my current capacity? If your mind works best at night, forcing a 4 a.m. routine might break your sleep and ruin your mood. If you're caring for family or dealing with health issues, a high-intensity schedule may simply not be sustainable. When your habits don't match your reality, they always end up collapsing. The problem isn't you, the problem is misalignment. A system should feel like support, not punishment. It should feel like a structure that gives to your life more than it takes. You're far more likely to stick with a habit that feels like a gift to yourself than one that feels like a sentence you're serving. Real transformation begins with self-awareness, not self-attack. You don't start by asking, how can I force myself to be more disciplined? You start by asking, who am I right now, and what genuinely works for me? Self-awareness here is not emotional drama, it's clear observation. What energizes you? What drains you? At what times of day do you feel most focused, and when do you usually crash? Which tasks feel natural, and which ones always create resistance?
If you don't understand your own patterns, you will keep borrowing habits from others that don't fit your temperament, your schedule, or your responsibilities. Then you'll blame yourself when those habits don't last. But the truth is, the most successful people don't copy someone else's rhythm. They design their own. They know their strengths. They accept their limits. They build around their nature instead of constantly fighting it. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Your goal isn't to become a different person overnight. Your goal is to gradually shape who you are by building patterns you can actually live with day after day.
Start by watching your current behavior, not to shame yourself, but to learn. For 1 week, observe your days like a curious scientist. When do you feel most alert? Morning, afternoon, or evening? What do you naturally do when you have a bit of free time? Scroll, walk, talk, read, listen to music? What is one thing you already do every day without fail, even when you're tired? That thing, whatever it is proof that you can be consistent. It's a starting point, an anchor. Instead of trying to create a perfect schedule from scratch, take what's already working and build around it. If you naturally enjoy walking in the evening, turn that into intentional time. Maybe you use it to think about your day, practice gratitude, or listen to a helpful podcast. If you already drink coffee or tea every morning, use that moment as a trigger to review your top 3 tasks. If you like silence at a specific time, protect it and use it for planning or reflection. You don't always need to add new habits. Sometimes you just need to attach more meaning and intention to the habits you already have. A powerful shift happens when you stop chasing the most impressive routine and start building the most sustainable one. Impressive routines rely on hype. Sustainable routines rely on fit. When a system fits, it feels lighter, not effortless. You will still feel resistance sometimes, but it feels doable. It doesn't feel like an attack on your identity. It feels like an upgrade to it. The best patterns don't demand perfection from you. They invite consistency from you. Remember, change doesn't come from what you do once in a while when you feel motivated. It comes from what you do often enough that it becomes normal. That's why small habits, designed well, are so powerful. You might think 10 minutes of reading isn't enough, or a 5-minute walk won't change anything, but you're missing the real point. The goal at the start isn't maximum impact, it's maximum repeatability. If you can repeat it, you can grow it. But if you can't repeat it, it doesn't matter how amazing it looks on paper. Emotional alignment is more important than external approval. When your habits feel like self-respect instead of self-punishment, you naturally want to return to them. They become moments where you say to yourself, "My future matters. I matter." That feeling is more powerful than any motivational speech. Habits that are aligned with your values, even if they're small, start to build genuine confidence. You're no longer waiting for someone else to validate you. You see your own behavior and think, "I'm actually living closer to what I believe." That inner alignment creates calm strength. On the other hand, when your habits feel fake, like you're performing for an invisible audience or trying to prove something to others, you'll always feel tension. You might do them for a while, but deep down you'll resent them, and resentful habits never last. So build routines that make you proud of yourself, not because they're extreme, but because they're honest extensions of what you truly value. Understand that your patterns are not meant to stay frozen. A system is a living thing. What fits you in one season of life might not fit you in the next, and that's perfectly normal. Maybe you change jobs, start a business, become a parent, go through loss, move to a new place, or simply grow in awareness. Your energy shifts, your responsibilities change, your emotional needs evolve. A rigid system that doesn't adapt becomes a cage. A wise system adjusts. This doesn't mean you abandon discipline every time life gets hard. It means you stay committed to your values while being flexible with your methods. You can shorten a routine when needed without dropping it. You can move a habit to a different time of day if that works better.
You can pause something that no longer serves you and replace it with something that does. That's not inconsistency, that's strategic evolution. Your goal is not to protect the routine, your goal is to protect the purpose behind it. Think in terms of anchors, those small actions that keep you centered when everything else feels uncertain. Maybe it's a 2-minute morning stretch, a deep breath before you open your messages, a brief evening walk without your phone, or a 5-minute reflection before bed. These moments may look tiny on the outside, but they are powerful internally. They create rhythm, and rhythm matters more than intensity. Life will never be perfectly stable. You will have bad days, busy weeks, and seasons where everything feels heavier than usual. But if your patterns are built around your real nature and real life, you will always find your way back to them after you slip. Not because you're forcing yourself out of guilt, but because they feel like home. That's the quiet strength of a good system. It catches you when your willpower fails. Don't build systems to impress strangers on the internet. Don't design routines that only look good when you write them out. Build patterns that protect your peace, support your health, sharpen your focus, and respect your limits. Build rhythms you can carry even on your low days, even when your motivation is gone. If your current habits feel heavy, suffocating, or fake, you don't need to give up on yourself. You need to redesign the system. Make it lighter, make it kinder, make it more honest. Design it for the real you standing here today, not the fantasy you're ashamed you aren't yet. Then, day by day, pattern by pattern, you'll notice something powerful. Your habits won't just be things you do, they'll become part of who you are. And once your habits become your identity, you don't have to fight for discipline anymore. You don't have to constantly talk yourself into growth. You become the kind of person who lives with intention naturally. The results that once felt impossible begin to show up quietly, steadily, as a side effect of patterns that finally feel like they were made for you. Remove pressure by focusing only on today. Most people carry far more weight in their minds than their lives were meant to hold. They walk through the day thinking about everything at once: their future, their past, their mistakes, their hopes, their deadlines, their fears. They try to solve 5 years of problems in 5 minutes of overthinking. They replay old conversations, imagine worst-case scenarios, calculate how far behind they are, and judge themselves for not being where they think they should be. All of that mental noise doesn't create progress, it creates pressure. It makes you feel small in front of your own life. It convinces you that you're failing, not because you haven't done anything, but because you're comparing your real efforts to an impossible, imagined standard. You begin to feel like you'll never catch up, like no matter what you do, it won't be enough. But here is the truth. You are not meant to live under the weight of your entire past and your entire future at the same time. You can't fix yesterday. You can't live 3 years from now. The only space you actually have power in is the day you are in right now. And that day does not need your panic. It needs your presence. When you stop trying to control your whole life in one mental sweep and narrow your focus to today, something subtle but powerful happens inside you. Your shoulders relax, your breathing slows. Your thoughts, which used to run in 10 directions, begin to move in one. You feel less overwhelmed, not because your life magically changed, but because your attention stopped sprinting into every possible moment except the one you're in. Anxiety lives in scattered focus. Guilt lives in replaying old days. Fear lives in trying to predict every outcome. Peace lives in learning to handle this one day well. That doesn't mean you never think about the future or never learn from the past. It means you stop trying to live in them. You use the past for wisdom, the future for direction, and today for action. When you make today strong, whatever strong means for the season you're in, you make tomorrow lighter. You build your future not by worrying about it constantly, but by honoring the day you actually have. So, how do you remove pressure in a practical sense? You start by asking one simple question. What can I take care of today? Not, what do I wish I had done years ago? Not, how do I fix my entire life this month? Just, given my real energy, my real responsibilities, my real situation, what small, honest step can I take today toward the person I want to be? If you want to be healthier, don't torture yourself with images of the perfect body or a year-long plan you don't believe you can follow. Ask, what is one healthy choice I can make today? Maybe it's drinking more water, walking for 15 minutes, or cooking one better meal. If you want to manage your money better, don't obsess about becoming wealthy overnight. Ask, what is one respectful decision I can make with my money today? Maybe it's not ordering takeout or checking your bank balance without running from it. If you want to rebuild your confidence, don't wait to become a flawless version of yourself. Ask, what is one thing I can do today that I'll be proud I did? Maybe it's speaking up once, finishing something you started, or keeping a promise to yourself. One day, one choice, one step, that is where real progress lives.
The pressure most people feel doesn't actually come from what they're doing. It comes from what they think they should be doing. They wake up already feeling behind, measuring themselves against imagined standards, where they thought they'd be at this age, what they think others have achieved, what social media presents as normal. Before the day begins, they've already decided they're losing. That mindset drains energy before any meaningful action can start. The cure is not to suddenly become perfect. The cure is presence. Presence is not some mystical state. It's the simple practice of returning your mind to what is in front of you and asking, what can I honestly give today? Some days you'll have high energy and can do more. Other days you'll feel heavy and can do less. Both days still count. Progress is not judged by how much you did compared to an imaginary ideal. Progress is judged by whether you showed up with what you had and used it with intention. Consistency without pressure is what builds trust in yourself. Some people stick to systems but still feel like failures because their expectations are unrealistic. They expect months of results after days of effort. They feel shame if they miss one workout, one study session, one good habit. That shame turns small slips into full collapses. But if you focus only on today, the story changes. You're no longer thinking, I must be perfect for 365 days. You're thinking, today I will do what I can. If I fall, I'll reset tomorrow. The standard is no longer perfection, it's honesty. Did I respect today? Did I choose one step instead of no step? When you start honoring what you did instead of obsessing over what you didn't, the pressure loosens. You stop living in a constant state of feeling behind and start recognizing that every day is a new chance, not a continuation of your deepest regret. Focusing only on today also helps you actually notice your own life. When your mind isn't racing 10 steps ahead, you start seeing the small things you used to ignore. The way a short walk calmed your mind, the relief after completing a simple task you'd delayed, the quiet pride of making a better choice even when nobody saw it. You become more present to your own thoughts and emotions, not to judge them, but to understand them. You notice when a certain activity always leaves you drained, when a certain person always leaves you tense, when a certain habit always leaves you numb. That awareness gives you power. You can't change what you won't allow yourself to see. By staying with today, you begin to see clearly where your time, energy, and attention are actually going, instead of assuming or guessing. Stress thrives in mental clutter. The more you try to control everything at once, the more powerless you feel.
You are human. You were never designed to carry every possible outcome, every possible fear, and every possible regret in your head at the same time. That's why simplifying your focus simplifies your emotions. When you decide, today, these are the few things that matter, you give your brain and your heart a break. You stop scattering yourself across 1,000 concerns and bring your strength into a smaller space. That's when you can finally feel grounded. A grounded life is not a life without problems. It's a life where you don't abandon yourself in the face of those problems. And the way you stay grounded is by refusing to live everywhere except here. From a practical angle, living by the day means designing your system around daily clarity, not distant outcomes. Instead of waking up and being swallowed by vague worries, you give your day shape. You decide, these 2 or 3 things are my focus today. They don't have to be big. It could be a focused work session, a simple act of self-care, a conversation you've been avoiding, or even just going to bed on time. The point is not the size of the action, it's the intention behind it. A short walk done with awareness is more powerful than an hour at the gym you resent and then quit. A 10-minute deep work session done daily is more powerful than one huge burst of productivity followed by weeks of burnout. When you live like this, each day becomes manageable, even when life is hard. You stop demanding that every day be spectacular. You ask, instead, that every day be honest. You will still have bad days. You will still have days when you feel unmotivated, lost, or emotionally heavy. But when your focus is just today, those days don't become the end of your story. If today falls apart, you don't declare your whole future ruined. You simply say, today was hard. I'll try again tomorrow. No drama, no lifelong conclusions, just a reset. That mindset keeps you free from the trap of all or nothing thinking, where one setback becomes an excuse to abandon everything. Remember, you are not building a single perfect day, you are building a lifetime. And lifetimes are built from thousands of imperfect, honest, present days stacked together. You don't need to move fast, you need to keep moving. So take a moment now and breathe. Look at the hours ahead of you, not the years, not the months, just the hours. Ask yourself, what can I do with them that respects the person I'm trying to become? Maybe it's one healthy meal, one finished task, one difficult but necessary conversation, one moment of stillness, one act of kindness to yourself or someone else. That is enough. Stop letting imagined futures steal the strength you need for this day. Stop replaying yesterdays that you can't rewrite. You are here now. This is your space to work. This is your time to grow. Take the pressure off your shoulders by shrinking your focus. Give your best to this day with what you have, where you are. Then, when the day ends, let it end. Tomorrow, you'll begin again, not from shame, but from intention. And as these single days stack up, you'll look back and realize something powerful. Your life changed not because you solved everything at once, but because you faithfully took care of today, over and over, until your future quietly transformed.
Set up systems that calm your overwhelmed mind. When your mind is overloaded, even simple things begin to feel complicated. A small decision can feel like a big problem. A normal day can feel like a storm. You're not weak or broken for feeling this way. You're human. Life moves fast. Messages, responsibilities, expectations, alerts, tasks, and problems all compete for your attention at the same time. Your brain tries to hold everything in one place: what you need to do today, what you forgot to do yesterday, what you're afraid might happen tomorrow. That constant mental juggling creates a quiet, heavy stress that never fully switches off. You might look calm on the outside, but inside your thoughts are loud and scattered. In that state, motivation won't save you. You don't need more hype or more pressure. You need less chaos. You need clarity.
And clarity doesn't appear by accident. You have to build it with systems that take weight off your mind and put it into structure. An overwhelmed mind is usually not a sign that you're doing too much. It's a sign that too much is unorganized. You may have 10 things to do, but if they're all floating in your head, they feel like 100. Every time you remember something, then forget it, then remember it again, your brain spends energy cycling the same thoughts. This is why systems matter so much. A system is simply a pre-decided way of handling something. It's a plan that lives outside your head, so your mind doesn't have to hold every detail. When you build systems, even small, simple ones, you begin to reduce the number of decisions you face, the amount of information you carry, and the chaos you feel. Instead of waking up and thinking, "What now? Where do I start? What am I forgetting?" you wake up and follow a path you've already chosen. That doesn't remove every problem from your life, but it removes a lot of unnecessary noise from your mind. Think about how much daily stress comes from scrambling to find things, to remember tasks, to catch up on work, to throw together a meal, to react to last-minute changes. Now imagine how different your day would feel if just a few of those things were taken care of ahead of time. If your meals were at least roughly planned, your top priorities were already chosen, and your calendar was visible and realistic, you wouldn't start your day in panic. You wouldn't burn half your energy just trying to decide what to do next. You would simply begin. A calm start doesn't mean an easy life. It means a prepared mind. And that is something you can create, one system at a time. Don't try to build a perfect master system overnight. That only adds pressure. Instead, start where the pain is strongest. Ask yourself, what part of my life stresses me out the most on a daily basis? My mornings? My work tasks? My money? My meals? My time? Pick one area, just one. Your goal right now is not to control everything. It's to reduce chaos in one specific place. If mornings are always chaotic, design a short, realistic morning flow. Wake up, drink water, stretch or move for 1 minute, review your main task, then start. Keep it simple enough that you can do it even on tired days. If your schedule always feels out of control, start using a basic calendar or planner. Each evening, decide 3 things that matter for tomorrow. The point is not to create a strict life. The point is to remove guesswork. The less you have to figure out in the moment, the calmer your mind feels.
A powerful tool for calming an overwhelmed brain is reducing daily decisions. Decision fatigue is real. Every small choice, what to wear, when to work, what to eat, what to start first, costs mental energy. When that energy runs out, you feel tired, unfocused, and easily stressed, even if your day wasn't physically demanding. Systems help you decide things once so you don't have to decide them every day. For example, you can plan a simple rotation of meals instead of deciding from scratch each time. You can choose a few default outfits for work days. You can block specific times for deep work, shallow tasks, rest, and movement. You can decide in advance that you don't check social media before a certain hour. These are not rigid rules meant to control you. They are supports that protect you from constant mental negotiation. Time blocking is another way to bring calm into a scattered day. Time blocking doesn't mean filling every minute with activity. It means giving parts of your day a clear purpose so your brain knows what kind of energy to bring. For example, you might set 9 to 11 a.m. for deep work, 11 to 12 for lighter tasks, 1 to 2 p.m. for calls, 3 to 3:30 for a walk or reset, and 8 to 9 p.m. for winding down. Even if the exact times shift, the idea remains. Instead of jumping randomly between tasks, you're moving within a simple structure. Your mind can then switch fully into focus or fully into rest instead of trying to do both at once and failing at both. Structure, when done right, doesn't trap you, it frees you. It takes away the constant question, what should I be doing right now? And replaces it with, I already know what this time is for. Your mental environment is also shaped by your digital environment. Notifications, alerts, and messages are tiny interruptions that add up. Every time your phone lights up, your mind is pulled out of its current focus. Even if you ignore it, part of your brain has already turned toward it. Over the day, this constant micro-switching exhausts you. Build systems here, too. Turn off non-essential notifications. Decide specific times to check messages and email instead of reacting to them all day. Use Do Not Disturb during deep work or rest periods. Don't rely on willpower alone to resist distractions. Let your settings support your intentions. A calm mind is not just one that thinks positive thoughts, it's one that is not hammered by constant, unnecessary input. Stillness must also be part of your system. Your mind cannot process, integrate, and heal if it is always busy. You need moments where nothing is demanding your attention, even if it's just 5 minutes. Build a daily pause into your routine. It could be sitting quietly after waking up, taking a short walk without your phone, or closing your eyes for a few breaths in the afternoon. You might think, how can a few minutes matter? But in reality, these small pauses act like a reset button. They give your nervous system a brief chance to calm down. They allow your thoughts to settle and your emotions to surface instead of being constantly pushed down by noise. Over time, these small pauses add up to a mind that feels less crowded and more under control. Remember, your systems should match your current season of life. Maybe a year ago, you could handle a tight schedule. Maybe today, you're dealing with grief, burnout, or new responsibilities. If your life has changed, your system must change too. There is no medal for doing things the hardest way. If your mind feels heavy all the time, it's sending you a message. I need less chaos. I need more structure. I need space. Listen to that. It's not a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that your current way of handling everything no longer fits. Adjust. Simplify. Remove what isn't necessary. That might mean saying no more often, delegating small tasks, or lowering your expectations of what a productive day looks like while you rebuild.
Small, practical systems can make a huge difference. A 10-minute evening reset where you put things back in place and glance at tomorrow. A weekly check-in hour every Sunday where you review your week, look at what's coming, and adjust your plans. A simple rule like no screens in bed or no big decisions when I'm exhausted. Laying out your clothes and preparing your bag the night before. Writing down your thoughts before sleep so your mind doesn't keep circling them in bed. None of these actions are dramatic, but each one lifts one more ounce of weight off your brain. The more weight you move into systems, the more energy is freed for creativity, relationships, learning, and rest. Your goal is not to pack your life with routines for the sake of being organized. Your goal is to feel calmer inside your own life, to wake up without immediate panic, to move through your day without feeling constantly chased by unfinished thoughts, to fall asleep without your mind spinning in circles. You don't get there by pushing harder through overwhelm. You get there by lightening the load your mind has to carry. You let systems remember for you. You let routines guide you. You let structure create predictability in a world that will never be completely predictable. Start small. Choose one area of overwhelm and build one system for it. When that begins to feel natural, add another. Over time, your life will shift from constant reaction to steady intention. Your mind will still face challenges, but it won't face them alone. It will be supported by patterns you've intentionally created. That is real self-respect. Not just working harder, but working wiser. Not just surviving the storm, but building shelter inside it. Your peace is not a luxury for later. It is a necessity for right now. And one simple, thoughtful system at a time is how you begin to claim it. Stop chasing outcomes. Fix what you repeat. Most people spend their lives chasing results they never fully reach or never manage to keep. They imagine the moment they finally get the new job, build the perfect body,
earn more money, or receive the approval they've always wanted. They fantasize about the finish line, the day everything clicks and they finally feel successful, confident, and complete. But results don't just appear because you want them badly or think about them all day. They are built slowly and quietly by what you repeat when no one is watching. If your life isn't changing, it's rarely because you lack goals or dreams. It's because your daily patterns are staying exactly the same. You can write down powerful intentions, speak affirmations, create vision boards, and set deadlines, but if you keep waking up and living the same habits, your reality will not move. You don't rise to your intentions, you fall to your repetitions. The quality of your outcomes will always be tied to the quality of what you do over and over again.
When you become obsessed with outcomes, you slip into a dangerous trap. You begin to measure your worth by what hasn't happened yet. You wake up feeling like a failure because you're not there yet, wherever there is for you. You keep your eyes locked on a distant future point and ignore the behavior shaping your present. You spend more time imagining the reward than building the foundation. This creates a painful loop. You feel inspired for a moment, you take a burst of action, you don't see immediate results, and then you crash into disappointment. You assume something is wrong with you, when in reality, the issue is simpler. You're asking the wrong question. Instead of asking, how do I get the result, you should be asking, what am I actually repeating every day? Because your future is not built from what you want, it's built from what you normalize. Take a clear look at your days. Not what you plan to do, what you actually do, especially when you're tired, bored, stressed, or distracted. Those default behaviors are your real system. They're the autopilot settings of your life. Ask yourself, when I wake up, what do I automatically reach for? My phone, water, gratitude, worry. When I feel uncomfortable, what do I run to? Food, scrolling, gossip, work, sleep, denial. When I have free time, how do I fill it? Learning, resting, connecting, or numbing out? None of these questions are about judgment, they are about clarity. You might discover that your mornings are built on reaction, your mind is fueled by negative self-talk, your evenings are swallowed by screens, and your stress is handled through escape instead of resolution. Those patterns are not random. They are powerful forces shaping your emotion, identity, and future. You can write down a goal like, I want to be disciplined, but if you repeat indecision, distraction, and avoidance, your life will follow your habits, not your hopes. Even when people do manage to hit a goal, many can't hold on to it. Someone loses weight, then gains it back. Someone saves money, then spends it just as quickly. Someone gets their dream opportunity, then slowly sabotages it. Why? Because the behaviors underneath the result never truly changed. They reached a destination they weren't built to live in. They had a goal-level vision, but a habit-level identity that didn't match. Lasting change requires you to become the kind of person for whom that result is normal, not exceptional. That doesn't happen from one big effort. It happens from fixing what you repeat. Until your daily actions line up with the result you want, any outcome you achieve will feel temporary and fragile, always at risk, always depending on intense effort to maintain. Real security comes when your system supports your success automatically. Fixing what you repeat begins with honesty. It requires you to admit that some of your current routines are not helping you, even if they feel comfortable or familiar. This is the point where most people turn away because it's easier to blame circumstances than to admit, I am reinforcing my own limitation through my choices. But that moment of truth is powerful. When you say, I will not keep living like this, you're not making a dramatic announcement to the world. You're quietly changing your direction. You don't need to overhaul your entire life in a weekend. You just need to become conscious of one damaging pattern and commit to changing it. Maybe it's staying up too late, endlessly scrolling. Maybe it's avoiding hard conversations. Maybe it's eating every time you feel stressed. Maybe it's starting projects and never finishing them. Pick one.
Not all. One.
Once you've identified a damaging pattern, don't just try to stop it with pure willpower. Willpower is inconsistent. It's strongest when you're rested and weakest when you're drained, and most bad habits appear when you're drained. The key is to replace, not just resist. You must build a new loop that can take the old loop's place. If you tend to scroll your phone every time you feel anxious, don't just promise yourself, "I'll never scroll again." Instead, decide, "When I feel anxious, I'll walk for 5 minutes, breathe deeply, or write down what I'm feeling." If you constantly skip workouts because they feel overwhelming, don't design a 2-hour gym routine. Start with 10 minutes of movement at home, something so simple you can't convincingly avoid it. If you stress eat, create a pause. Before reacting, you stop, name what you feel, "I'm lonely, angry, bored, overwhelmed," and give yourself 1 minute before deciding what to do. You're not weak for needing these structures, you're wise for building them. Change, at its core, is a repetition problem, not a result problem. You don't need a new vision every week, you need a new action you can repeat every day. Focus on one daily upgrade, one small action that moves you slightly closer to your desired identity. It might be reading 2 pages every day. It might be planning your money once a week. It might be one honest conversation instead of silent resentment. It might be a 5-minute nightly review of your day. These small actions may seem too ordinary to matter, especially if you're used to chasing big shifts. But repetition is what rewires your brain, reshapes your self-image, and eventually transforms your life. The more often you do something, the more normal it feels. When it feels normal, it becomes automatic. And when it's automatic, you no longer fight yourself every time you try to do it. That's when real change becomes permanent. Begin looking at your life like a collection of systems, not a collection of isolated goals. Your health is not just a number on a scale, it's a system of how you sleep, eat, move, and handle stress. Your finances are not just a dollar amount, they're a system of how you earn, spend, save, and plan. Your relationships are not just how people talk about you, they're a system of how often you listen, communicate, show up, and set boundaries. Ask yourself daily, not "What did I achieve?" but "Did my actions today support the person I say I want to be?" If the answer is often no, don't panic. Use that answer as guidance. It shows you where your systems need work. Each day becomes an opportunity not to chase a big outcome, but to slightly improve your repetitions. The moment you understand your habits, confusion loses its power. You stop wondering, "Why isn't anything changing?" You know why. Maybe you say you value focus, but you keep your phone within arm's reach all day. Maybe you say you value growth, but you don't invest time in learning. Maybe you say you value peace, but you repeatedly go back to environments that disturb you. This awareness is not meant to shame you, it's meant to wake you up to your own influence. You are not just a victim of circumstances, you are also a builder of patterns, and builders can always rebuild differently. From that place of clarity, you can begin to choose new repetitions on purpose.
Decide now to stop treating results like the main goal. The real goal is behavior change. Results are the echo of that change. They're the side effect, the reflection, not the source. If you want something real, you have to act like someone who builds, not someone who only dreams. That means doing the right thing when nobody will applaud you. It means following your system when it's boring, when it's quiet, when nobody mentions your progress. It means letting go of the obsession with speed and focusing instead on direction and consistency. The difference between people who quietly transform their lives and those who stay in the same cycles is not talent or luck. It's what they repeat every day when no one is watching. When you commit to fixing what you repeat, you also take back your power. You stop blaming distractions, bad luck, or a lack of motivation. You begin to see that every time you choose a habit, you are choosing a future. No habit is neutral. The way you think, eat, rest, work, and react is either moving you closer to your potential or pulling you away from it. That doesn't mean you must live in constant pressure. It means you live in constant awareness. Is this repetition serving me or slowly weakening me? If the answer is that it's weakening you, that's your signal to adjust, not through self-hate, but through self-respect. You deserve patterns that support your growth, not sabotage it. You are not stuck because of one massive problem. You are stuck because of small patterns that have gone unquestioned for too long. The good news is you don't have to fix everything at once. You can start with one repetition, one loop, one behavior. Break it, replace it, then do that again with another. Over time, the small changes you repeat will accumulate into a life that feels dramatically different. You'll notice it in how calm you feel under pressure, in how much more you trust yourself, in how slowly your old self-doubt loosens its grip. You'll see that the results you once chased so desperately begin to appear, not because you obsessed over them, but because you quietly changed what you do every day. So from now on, shift the question that guides you. Don't ask, how can I reach the outcome as fast as possible? Ask, what am I actually repeating and what needs to change there? Because whether you realize it or not, today's repetitions are writing tomorrow's reality. You don't need more goals. You need better systems. You don't need to do more things. You need to do the right things more often. One honest decision, one small upgraded action, repeated again and again, will do more for your life than 100 dramatic intentions you never live. Fix what you repeat, and your outcomes will eventually have no choice but to follow.
Train your brain to crave daily small wins. Your brain is always paying attention, always learning from your behavior, even when you're not aware of it. It watches what you do, how you react, what you chase, and what you avoid. Over time, it begins to connect certain actions with certain feelings: comfort, relief, excitement, escape, peace, or pride. Whatever you reward most often, your brain learns to crave. For many people, without realizing it, they've trained their brain to crave what keeps them stuck: constant distraction, quick comfort, and instant validation. A notification gives a tiny spike of dopamine, so they keep reaching for their phone. Junk food gives a moment of relief, so they keep eating when stressed. Avoiding a hard task gives a wave of short-term ease, so they keep procrastinating. None of this means they're broken. It means their brain has been trained by repetition. The powerful truth is this: if your brain can be trained in one direction, it can be retrained in another. You can teach your mind to associate progress with pleasure instead of associating escape with pleasure. And the most reliable way to do that is by stacking small wins every single day. Small wins matter more than most people think because small wins are accessible. They're close enough to touch today, no matter how overwhelmed or behind you feel. A small win is any concrete action that moves you even slightly closer to the person you want to become. Finishing a simple task you've delayed, following through on a promise to yourself, doing 5 minutes of focused work instead of none, choosing a better option even once. These wins are not dramatic. No one may notice them but you, but they are powerful because they are proof. They prove that you can act, that you can show up, that you can complete something meaningful. When you experience that proof daily, something shifts inside you. You stop seeing yourself as someone who never follows through and start seeing yourself as someone who can be trusted. That shift in identity is what fuels lasting change, not a big external success, but repeated proof that you do what you say, even in small ways. Many people delay feeling proud until something huge happens. They tell themselves, I'll feel good when I lose all the weight, when I get the promotion, when I have a certain amount of money, when my life looks completely different. But your brain cannot live on future rewards alone.
If you only allow yourself to feel successful when you hit massive milestones, you will live most of your life feeling like you're failing. That constant feeling of not enough yet destroys motivation. It makes the journey heavy and joyless. Eventually, you burn out, not just from the effort, but from the lack of reward along the way. That's why you must stop waiting for big wins and start feeding your brain small wins now. When progress becomes something you can experience today, not just dream about tomorrow, your energy returns. You want to keep going, not because someone forced you, but because it feels good to move.
Training your brain to crave small wins begins with designing your day around a few clear, winnable actions. Don't overload yourself with a long list that guarantees failure. Choose 2 or 3 things that you know you can complete with focus. Make them specific and realistic. Write for 10 minutes, not be productive. Walk for 15 minutes, not get in perfect shape. Read 3 pages, not become smart. These are not low standards, they are stepping stones. Once you decide on these actions, treat them like non-negotiable commitments, not vague wishes. When you complete one, resist the urge to rush into the next thing without noticing. Pause for a few seconds. Acknowledge the win. Say to yourself, I said I would, and I did. That pause matters. It allows your brain to link action with satisfaction. You're not just checking off a box, you're training your nervous system to recognize completion as a rewarding experience. Most people sabotage this process by ignoring their wins. They do something good, then immediately shift their attention to what's still undone. Yes, I finished that task, but look how much is left. Yes, I ate one healthy meal, but my whole diet is still a mess. Yes, I studied for 20 minutes, but I'm still behind. When you do this, your brain doesn't register success, it only registers pressure. No matter how hard you work, you feel like you're failing because you never allow yourself to feel progress. Over time, your mind learns, no matter what I do, it's never enough. Why would it crave that? Why would it feel motivated to repeat something that only leads to more self-criticism? This is why intentionally recognizing small wins is not self-indulgence, it's strategy. It is how you create a positive feedback loop between effort and emotion so your brain actually wants to engage again tomorrow. To make this concrete, consider creating a simple daily win list. It doesn't need to be fancy. At the end of each day, write down 3 wins from that day, however small. Maybe you stayed calm in a situation that usually triggers you. Maybe you drank more water. Maybe you cleaned one corner of your space. Maybe you sent an important email. Maybe you got out of bed on a hard morning. The point isn't to inflate your ego, it's to give your brain evidence that today was not wasted, that you were moving, learning, trying. Over weeks and months, this list becomes a powerful record. On days when you doubt yourself, you can look back and see hundreds of tiny proof points that you don't give up, that you do show up, that you are growing. That's how self-belief is built. Not from empty affirmations, but from visible patterns of effort. Understand that this training process takes time. Your brain has been conditioned for years to chase certain rewards, comfort, distraction, avoidance, drama. You will not rewrite that overnight. At first, choosing small wins over old habits might feel awkward or less satisfying. Watching a show or scrolling your phone may feel more instantly rewarding than doing 10 minutes of deep work. Eating junk may feel more comforting than making a simple, healthy choice. That's normal. At the beginning, the old reward pathways are stronger, but each time you complete a small win and consciously let yourself feel that "I did it" moment, you are carving a new pathway. With repetition, the emotional payoff of progress grows. One day, you'll notice that doing the right thing actually feels better in your body than escaping it. That's when the game changes. Discipline stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like relief.
This doesn't mean you'll never have off days. You will. There will be days when you feel unmotivated, distracted, or emotionally low. The power of craving small wins is that even on those days, you don't collapse completely. Instead of giving up on the whole day, you say, what's one win I can still create? Maybe you can't do your full workout, but you can stretch for 5 minutes. Maybe you can't handle all your tasks, but you can do one important thing. Maybe you can't be highly productive, but you can choose not to self-sabotage. That one small win keeps you emotionally connected to your path. It prevents minor setbacks from becoming major spirals. People who grow over the long term are not those who never have bad days. They're the ones who keep creating small wins even when the day doesn't go as planned. You also need to stay present enough to notice and appreciate effort, not just outcome. If you're always focused on where you're not yet, you'll miss where you are now. That constant sense of not there yet keeps your brain in a state of dissatisfaction. You might be building the exact foundations you'll need later, but if you're blind to them, you'll feel like you're failing. This is not just unfair, it's destructive. Being fair to yourself doesn't mean pretending you're doing more than you are. It means recognizing what you did do. I didn't finish everything, but I resisted an old habit today. I didn't hit my biggest goal, but I did one brave thing. Fairness creates emotional balance. It tells your brain, effort matters here. Progress is seen here. That's the kind of environment where discipline grows. To strengthen this shift, build habits around tracking and reflecting on progress. You can do a quick morning check-in. What one win do I want to create today? Then an evening check-in. What 3 wins did I create today? You might do a short weekly review. What am I proud of from this week? What pattern of wins is forming? These simple reflections keep your attention oriented toward growth. The more you talk about, write about, and think about your wins, the more your brain starts looking for opportunities to create them. You begin to anticipate the feeling that comes from following through. Your mind goes from craving escape to craving completion. Over time, as you train your brain this way, you'll notice a shift in your internal dialogue. Instead of thinking, I just want to relax by escaping, you'll start thinking, I'll feel better if I just finish this one thing. Instead of feeling dread toward important tasks, you'll begin to associate them with the satisfaction you've experienced before. You won't need to constantly psych yourself up with motivation. Your history of small wins will speak for you. You've done this before. You can do it again. That's how confidence is formed, from experience, not fantasy. You become someone who doesn't just dream about growth, but who actually feels drawn toward it, because your brain has learned that growth feels good.
Ultimately, you can build an entire life on small wins. A stronger body, a calmer mind, healthier relationships, more stable finances, deeper skills. They are all built from actions that are small enough to repeat, but meaningful enough to matter. When you stop worshiping big, dramatic transformations and start respecting quiet, daily victories, everything changes. You stop waiting to be proud of yourself one day and start living in a way you can be proud of today. Not because everything is perfect, but because you know you're moving, you know you're trying, you know you're learning, and that is enough to keep going. So start today. Don't wait for the perfect mood or the perfect plan. Choose one small win you can create in the next hour. Do it, then notice it, name it, let yourself feel it. Then do the same tomorrow and the day after. Train your brain to crave these moments of honest progress. Over time, they will rewrite what you chase, how you feel, and who you believe you are. You won't just be chasing success somewhere in the distance, you'll be living it in small, concrete ways every single day. Change what you do, not how you feel. Most people wait for their emotions to give them permission to live the life they want. They wait to feel confident before speaking up. They wait to feel motivated before working. They wait to feel ready before committing. They tell themselves, once I feel right, I'll start doing the right things. But feelings are unstable. They're affected by your sleep, your diet, your hormones, the weather, your environment, random comments, and old memories. If your actions depend on your emotions being perfect, your progress will always be fragile.
You'll move when you feel good and stop when you don't. That's why so many lives move in circles. People keep waiting until they feel like it, and the feeling rarely arrives in the way they hope. Real change doesn't begin when you finally feel different. Real change begins the moment you decide to act differently, even while your emotions stay the same.
When you let feelings lead, you create emotional loops that are hard to escape. You think, I don't feel like working out, so you skip it. At first, you feel relief, one less thing to do. But later, guilt arrives. You tell yourself you failed again, and your confidence drops a little more. The next time it's time to exercise, you remember not just the effort, but also the guilt from before, and the resistance grows. The same happens with work, conversations, projects, and habits. Avoiding action feels good for a moment, but heavy in the long run. Action, on the other hand, often feels uncomfortable in the moment, but lighter afterward. The key is realizing that you cannot think your way into a new life. You have to act your way into it. Your emotions are feedback, not commands. They can inform you, but they should not decide for you. This doesn't mean your feelings are meaningless. They're real. They're human. They can tell you when something is wrong, when you need rest, when you're hurt, when a boundary is being crossed. But there's a difference between listening to your emotions and obeying them. Listening says, I feel tired. I'll adjust my effort, but I'll still show up in some way. Obeying says, I feel tired. I'm doing nothing. Listening says, I feel afraid. I understand that, but I'll still take a small step. Obeying says, I feel afraid, so I won't move at all. Growth happens when you acknowledge your emotions, but choose your actions based on your values. Your values say health matters, honesty matters, discipline matters, growth matters. Your actions should serve your values, not your momentary mood. One of the strongest mindset shifts you can make is this. Stop asking, how do I make myself feel like doing this? And start asking, what would the future version of me do in this situation? Then do that. You don't need to be that future version fully today. You just need to behave like them in this next moment. The future you who is more disciplined, calmer, stronger, more successful, their life is not built on perfect emotions. It's built on repeated choices. They go to the gym when they're not in the mood. They start working when motivation is low. They speak with honesty even when they feel nervous. They rest intentionally instead of collapsing into endless distraction. Every time you choose to act like that version of you, you're training your identity. You're sending your brain a message. This is who I am now.
Action has a powerful effect on emotion. When you move your body, your chemistry changes. Endorphins, blood flow, breathing. When you complete a task, your brain rewards you with a sense of relief and satisfaction. When you follow through on a promise you made to yourself, your self-respect grows. None of that happens by thinking about acting. It only happens through doing. You don't have to feel confident to take a step. You become more confident because you took it. You don't have to feel motivated to begin. You often feel motivated after you start. Waiting to feel differently before you act is like waiting to get warm before you light the fire. The fire is your action. The warmth is your emotional state. The order matters. Of course, there will be resistance. Your mind will try to negotiate with you. It will say things like, it's not the right time. You're too tired. You'll start tomorrow. It's not worth it if you can't do it perfectly. Or you've already failed so many times, why try again? You don't defeat these thoughts by arguing with each one. You defeat them by moving anyway. Instead of trying to win an inner debate, you act before the debate gets louder. This is where structure and systems from earlier chapters become critical. If your morning routine is clear, wake up, water, movement, one important task, you don't spend 15 minutes asking yourself if you feel like it. You simply follow the plan you chose when you were thinking clearly.
The more you reduce in-the-moment decisions, the less power your fluctuating emotions have over your behavior. This doesn't mean you must always push at full strength. Sometimes changing what you do simply means doing a smaller version of the right thing. If you're exhausted and your plan was a 45-minute workout, you might do 10 minutes instead. If you planned an hour of deep work and your mind feels scattered, you might do 15 focused minutes. If you planned a long conversation and you're overloaded, you might send a short but honest message. The important part is not the size of the action, but the direction of it. You are teaching yourself, even when I'm not at my best, I still move. That consistency builds a powerful identity. You become someone who doesn't completely abandon your values just because your feelings are off. It's also important to recognize that avoiding action doesn't actually protect your emotions. It often harms them. You might think, if I skip this, I'll feel better, but afterward, you're left with regret, self-criticism, and a heavier sense of failure. In contrast, doing the hard thing rarely feels amazing in the beginning, but it nearly always leaves you feeling lighter afterward. Think about times you pushed yourself to go for a walk, start a project, or have a tough conversation. Beforehand, your mind was loud with excuses. During, it felt uncomfortable. But afterward, you probably felt relief, pride, or at least a sense of clarity. Action may not give you the emotion you want instantly, but it leads you to better emotions more reliably than avoidance ever will.
To live this principle daily, start noticing the moment between feeling and action. There is always a gap, even if it's small. In that gap, you can choose. You feel tired, and there is a tiny pause before you either give up or adjust and move. You feel anxious, and there's a moment before you either escape or do the next right thing. Train yourself to pause long enough to ask, what aligns with my values right now? Then act on that answer quickly. Don't wait for your mind to start a debate. Over time, that pause and choose pattern becomes a habit itself. You go from being dragged by your feelings to being guided by your decisions. You are not supposed to feel strong, positive, and clear every day. No one does. What you are meant to do is show up anyway, in a way that honors your reality and your values. Some days, showing up will mean big progress. Other days, it will mean small, quiet effort. Both matter. Life is not testing whether you can feel perfect. It's revealing whether you can be consistent. The more often you act in alignment with your values, regardless of your emotional weather, the more stable you become inside. Your feelings will still rise and fall, but your actions will no longer swing wildly with them. That stability is what creates real confidence, not the illusion that you're always okay, but the grounded knowledge that even when you're not okay, you keep moving. So stop waiting to feel like it. Stop negotiating every action with your mood. Let your values lead and your actions follow, and trust that your emotions will, over time, begin to respect the life you're building. You don't need a perfect mindset to create discipline. You need repeated actions that build trust in yourself. The more you trust your own follow-through, the less control your doubts and fears will have. If today feels heavy, choose one small action that still honors who you want to be. If your mind feels loud, pick one clear task and do it anyway. If everything in you wants to run, stand still for a moment and move in the right direction. You don't have to change how you feel to change your life. You have to change what you do, one decision at a time. Until your actions write a story your emotions can no longer deny. Design your routine to reduce overthinking daily. Overthinking doesn't just waste time, it drains life. It fills your mind with questions, doubts, and imagined scenarios until even simple decisions feel heavy. You replay conversations, analyze what people meant, worry about what might go wrong, and constantly ask yourself if you're doing enough or doing it right. By the time the day ends, you're mentally exhausted, not because you did too much, but because your brain carried too many unstructured thoughts. The real problem isn't that you think, it's that you think without direction. Your mind is trying to manage everything at once: plans, fears, tasks, relationships, expectations. Without structure, it has no clear order, so it keeps jumping from one thing to another, searching for certainty it will never fully find. The result is paralysis. You start delaying action because you're waiting for a moment when you'll feel 100% sure. That moment rarely comes. The way out is not to think harder, it's to think less in the moments that don't need deep thought. And the most effective way to do that is by designing a daily routine that removes unnecessary decisions and gives your mind a clear path to walk.
Most people live their days in reaction mode. They wake up with no defined plan, grab their phone, and instantly hand their mind over to messages, news, and noise. From that moment, the day is pulled forward by whatever shows up: notifications, requests, temptations, and interruptions. Every choice, from what to do first to how to respond to distractions, is made on the spot. This seems like freedom, but it isn't. It's a kind of mental chaos. Each spontaneous decision demands energy. Each unplanned moment asks your brain to figure things out again and again. By noon, your head is buzzing. By evening, you feel like you've been busy all day, yet you can't clearly say what you actually moved forward. Overthinking loves this environment. When nothing is clearly defined, your mind fills the gap with worry and doubt. That's why building a routine matters. A good routine doesn't control your every second. It simply decides enough in advance that your mind can relax into doing instead of constantly debating. Start with your mornings, because how you begin the day shapes how you experience it. If your current morning routine is wake up and react, replace it with a simple, predictable flow. It doesn't need to be impressive, it needs to be clear. For example, wake up, drink water, avoid your phone for the first 10 to 20 minutes, move your body briefly, review your top 1 to 3 priorities, then start. That's it. The goal is not to create a perfect aesthetic ritual. The goal is to remove early morning overthinking. When you already know what the first steps of your day look like, your brain doesn't waste energy asking, "What should I do first?" You just do it. This small shift alone can significantly reduce anxiety because you start the day by leading, not reacting. You send your mind a message: we have direction today. Next, simplify your choices throughout the day. Overthinking grows when there are too many open options with no clear structure. You can't control everything, but you can design certain defaults. Decide your work hours instead of constantly wondering, should I work now or later? Plan your meals, even roughly, so you're not deciding from scratch when you're already hungry and tired. Lay out your clothes the night before so your brain isn't cluttered with trivial decisions in the morning. Use a short daily task list that focuses on what truly matters rather than dozens of small, low-impact activities. These choices might appear minor, but together they free a surprising amount of mental bandwidth. The less often you have to ask yourself, "What now?" the less room overthinking has to grow. Time blocking is a powerful tool here, not to squeeze productivity from every minute, but to give your mind clarity. Instead of letting your day be a blur of scattered activity, you assign general purposes to blocks of time. For instance, 9 to 11 a.m. for deep work, 11 to 12 for lighter tasks or communication, 1 to 2 p.m. for problem solving or meetings, 3 to 3:30 for movement or a walk, 8 to 9 p.m. for winding down. You're not trapping yourself, you're guiding yourself. Within each block, you focus on the type of activity you decided in advance. Your brain then knows this is focus time or this is rest time, instead of constantly negotiating between the two. Overthinking loves vagueness. It weakens when the day has a visible shape.
Protecting your attention is another essential part of designing an overthinking-resistant routine. Every notification is a small hook that pulls your mind out of the present task into a new thread of thought. Even if you don't fully engage, the interruption leaves a trace. Over the course of hours, those small pulls add up, leaving you scattered and tired. Instead of trying to rely on pure willpower, use systems. Turn off non-essential notifications. Set specific times to check messages and social media instead of grazing on them all day. Keep your phone out of reach during focused work. Create physical or digital boundaries that support your intention to think less about everything at once. You're not being extreme, you're being deliberate about what gets access to your attention. Rest must also be designed into your routine, not just squeezed in when you collapse. A mind that never stops processing will eventually overheat. You need moments when you are not consuming, not planning, not solving, just being. That might look like a short walk without headphones, a few deep breaths between tasks, a 10-minute break to sit in silence, or a no-screen rule for the last part of your evening. These pauses are not a waste of time. They are like cleaning the mental desk. When you don't schedule any rest, your brain tries to steal it in unhealthy ways, zoning out, compulsive scrolling, or late-night overthinking. Structured rest is kinder and far more effective. It helps your mind reset so that when you return to your tasks, you can think clearly instead of spinning in circles. As you design your routine, aim for repeatability, not perfection. A routine that looks amazing on paper but falls apart after 3 days is not a good routine. One that is simple, flexible, and sustainable is far more valuable. You are not building a prison, you are building a rhythm you can stay with when life is normal and return to when life is chaotic. And remember, overthinking often spikes when your routine suddenly disappears, on weekends, holidays, or during unstructured time. Having a light version of your routine for those days can keep your mind from drifting into anxiety. Maybe you keep just 3 anchors: a set wake-up time, 1 focused task, and 1 moment of stillness. The details can shift, but the structure still holds. It's also important to regularly review and adjust your routine. Overthinking can sometimes be a signal that something in your structure isn't working anymore. Maybe you're trying to do too much in one day. Maybe your expectations don't match your current energy or season. Maybe you're ignoring emotional needs and trying to cover them with productivity. Schedule a weekly check-in with yourself. Ask, what parts of my routine are helping me feel calmer and clearer? What parts consistently create stress or resistance? What's one small adjustment I can make for next week? That way, your routine stays alive and responsive instead of becoming rigid and outdated. Flexibility within structure is the balance that keeps both your schedule and your mind healthy. Ultimately, designing your routine to reduce overthinking is about moving from mental chaos to mental clarity. It's about taking some of the weight out of your head and placing it into calendars, lists, simple rules, and intentional habits. You're not trying to control every outcome. You're creating a predictable enough daily flow that your brain doesn't have to constantly panic about what now and what if. You give yourself fewer moments where you need to think hard, so that when real thinking is required, you have the capacity for it. When your day has direction, your mind can finally relax a little. You become less reactive, more present, and more able to make decisions without spiraling. Overthinking doesn't disappear overnight, but it loses its grip when it no longer has an unstructured mind to feed on. One clear routine, one simplified decision, One protected block of time at a time, you build a life where your thoughts serve your actions, not the other way around. Stay with systems when results feel too slow. Following your system is easy when everything seems to be working. When the scale is moving, your work is being noticed, your body feels stronger, your mind feels clearer. Staying consistent almost feels natural. You see progress, and progress feeds motivation. But the real test of your system isn't how you perform when life rewards you quickly. The real test is what you do when you're putting in effort and seeing almost nothing change on the surface. You eat better for weeks, and your body looks the same. You work hard on your craft, and nobody seems to care. You stick to your routine, and your emotions still feel heavy. That's the season where most people quit. Not because they're incapable, but because they confuse slow with useless. They assume that if results aren't visible yet, the system must be broken. But slow results are not proof of failure. They are often proof that real change is happening at a deeper level than you can see. We live in a world built around speed and instant feedback. You can order food in minutes, get answers in seconds, scroll through hundreds of lives in a few swipes, and post something online and receive likes almost immediately. That constant access to quick reactions quietly shapes your expectations. Without realizing it, you start expecting your growth to work the same way. You think, if I've been consistent for a week, I should see something. If I've worked hard for a month, my life should look different. When that doesn't happen, disappointment sets in. But life doesn't run on the same timeline as your apps. Deep transformation rarely gives you quick, dramatic feedback. At the beginning, it gives you silence. You are rebuilding habits, rewiring thought patterns, and reshaping your identity. That work is invisible at first. Like roots growing under the soil, change is happening, but you can't show it off yet. If you walk away too early, you don't fail because the process didn't work. You fail because you didn't stay long enough to see it through.
When results feel slow, your mind will try to convince you to change direction, add more, or give up. You'll think, maybe I need a new workout, a new job, a new plan, a new system. Often, this is not wisdom, it's restlessness. If you keep changing your system every time you don't get quick results, you'll spend your life at the starting line of different paths, never walking far enough down any of them to experience real progress. The uncomfortable truth is that consistency is usually boring. It's doing the same right things again and again, even when you're not excited, even when nobody is clapping, even when your fears tell you it might not be working. But that boring consistency is exactly where momentum lives. Every repetition is adding a layer of strength you'll need later. Think of a seed planted in the ground. After you plant it, you water it, protect it, and wait. For a while, nothing seems to happen. The soil looks the same day after day. If you judge the process only by what your eyes could see above the ground, you might say this isn't working. But beneath the surface, roots are forming. The plant is anchoring itself, drawing nutrients, getting ready to rise. If you dig it up too soon to check if it's growing, you kill it. Your habits and systems work the same way. At first, your life might not look very different, but internally, your resilience is growing. Your self-respect is solidifying. Your discipline is stretching. Your emotional reactions are slowly changing. These inner roots are what allow you to handle bigger results later without collapsing. This is why your system can't be built only around how you feel or what you see. It has to be built around who you want to become and what you know is right. When external feedback is loud, praise, compliments, quick wins, it's easy to keep going. When external feedback is quiet, you must lean on internal standards instead. Ask yourself, am I honoring my values today? Am I following the system I committed to? Am I acting like the person I'm trying to become, even if nobody notices? Those questions keep you grounded when the visible results are delayed. They remind you that your worth and your progress are not defined only by short-term outcomes, but by long-term alignment.
Slow seasons also expose your real motives. If you only stick to your system when it feels rewarding, then you weren't committed to growth, you were committed to convenience. But if you stick with it when it feels thankless, you're showing yourself that your values matter more than your mood. That's where true self-respect is born. Every time you follow your system on a day when it would be easier not to, you are sending a powerful message to yourself. I keep my word, even when it's hard. That internal trust is worth more than any quick win. Quick wins can fade. Self-trust stays.
When progress seems slow, don't respond by dramatically increasing intensity. Respond by steadily protecting consistency. More effort isn't always the answer. Sometimes it's better effort done regularly. You don't need to double your workout. You need to keep showing up to the one you already committed to. You don't need to work every night until you burn out. You need focused, consistent blocks of work you can maintain long term. You don't need a stricter routine. You need a sustainable one. A system that survives hard days will always beat a system that only shines on good days. This doesn't mean you never adjust your system. Sometimes slow results are a sign that something does need to change. Maybe your approach is unrealistic, misaligned with your current season, or missing an important element like rest. The key is to evaluate calmly, not out of frustration. Take time to ask, is my system clear? Is it realistic for my current life? Am I truly following it, or only sometimes? Have I given it enough time to work? Often, you'll find that the real issue isn't the system itself, but your expectation that it should transform your life in days instead of months. If, after honest reflection, you see that an adjustment is needed, make it small and intentional. Don't burn everything down. Improve your system the way you improve yourself, gradually. Remember that different kinds of progress show up at different times. Physical changes, financial changes, career changes, these might be the last to become visible. Emotional changes, however, come earlier. You might notice you bounce back from setbacks slightly faster. You handle frustration with a bit more calm, or you resist an old habit with less struggle. Mental changes appear too. Your thinking becomes clearer. You plan better. You delay immediate impulses a bit more. These subtle shifts are proof that your system is doing powerful work, even if the surface of your life still looks familiar. Don't dismiss these as nothing. They are the earliest signs that your identity is changing. Once your identity shifts, external results become far easier to create and maintain. You also have to accept that progress has seasons. Some seasons are about building, where you're laying foundations that no one else can see. Some are about visible growth, where results seem to come faster and doors open. Some seasons feel like testing, where you're challenged to stay steady under pressure or disappointment. All of them matter. If you try to force every season to look like rapid growth, you'll constantly feel disappointed and tempted to quit. But if you trust that foundations are just as valuable as outcomes, you'll see slow seasons as investments, not failures. Your system is not just about getting you somewhere, it's about shaping who you are along the way.
In the end, staying with your system when results feel slow is about choosing long-term strength over short-term comfort. It's about refusing to let impatience make your decisions. Anyone can be consistent for a week when it's exciting. Very few choose to be consistent for months when it's quiet. But those few are the ones who wake up one day and realize their life genuinely changed. Not by accident, not by luck, but because they stayed. They didn't start over every time it got hard. They didn't chase 10 different paths halfway. They walked one path deeply. So when you feel like nothing is happening, remind yourself, if I stop now, I'm ending this before it has a chance to grow. If I stay, something is quietly building, even if I can't see it yet. Let your system be your anchor. Show up, follow through, repeat. Not perfectly, but persistently. Let time work with you instead of against you. One day, the results that once felt distant will appear, not as a sudden miracle, but as the natural harvest of seeds you kept planting, watering, and protecting, even when the ground looked empty. People love to talk about what they want. They write big goals in notebooks, post their dreams online, and tell others about the life they're planning to live one day. Goals sound inspiring. They give you a burst of excitement, a sense of direction, a feeling that you're serious about change. But goals by themselves are just words. They don't move your body. They don't wake you up earlier. They don't close your social media apps. They don't change how you respond when you're tired, stressed, or tempted to quit. Your real life is not built by the sentences you write. It's built by the actions you repeat. Your habits tell the truth about your future, not your goals. You can say, "I want to be healthy," but if your daily actions ignore your body, your habits have already spoken. You can say, "I want to be disciplined," but if you keep repeating distraction and delay, your habits are telling a different story. In the end, your habits are louder than your words. They always will be. This doesn't mean goals are useless. A clear goal can help you decide where to point your energy. It can help you choose a direction instead of wandering aimlessly. The problem is when you stop at the goal and never build the habits that make it real. Setting a goal is the easy part. Living in a way that honors it is where the work is. After you write down, "I want to get fit," the crucial question becomes, what will I do today that someone fit would do? After you decide, "I want financial stability," the question becomes, what will I do this week that respects money instead of wasting it? After you say, "I want a calmer mind," the question becomes, what will I do daily to protect my attention and reduce chaos? Goals live in the future. Habits live in the present. You don't control when the goal will be fully realized. You do control what you repeat today.
Look closely at your life. Each area of it is a reflection of your repeated choices. Your health reflects your sleep, movement, nutrition, and stress patterns. Your finances reflect how you spend, save, earn, and plan. Your relationships reflect how you listen, communicate, show up, or avoid. Your confidence reflects how often you keep or break promises to yourself. None of these are defined by one big decision. They're built by hundreds of small ones, stacked on top of each other. So when you feel frustrated that your goals aren't happening fast enough, don't just look at the goal and wish harder. Look at your habits. Ask, are my days structured in a way that makes this goal likely, or am I hoping for change while living the same way? Habits are especially revealing on the boring days, when nothing dramatic is happening, when you're not inspired, when nobody is watching. That's when your true standards show. Do you still follow your routine, or do you let it slide just for today, again and again? Do you still choose focus over easy distraction, or do you drift through the day? Do you still respect your bedtime, your budget, your boundaries, or only when it's convenient? Anyone can act aligned with their goals when energy is high and circumstances are favorable. What separates people who truly change from those who don't is what they do when it's not exciting. That's why habits matter more than passion. Passion can start the fire, but only habits keep it burning. If you want people to understand what you're about, you don't need to explain your goals in long speeches. Live in a way that makes your direction obvious. If you consistently read, learn, and practice, people will know growth matters to you. If you consistently move your body and care for your health, people will know discipline matters to you. If you consistently work with focus and integrity, people will know excellence matters to you. You won't have to announce it. Your life will show it. More importantly, you will know it. You will start to trust yourself because your actions match your words.
That alignment is one of the deepest forms of confidence, behaving in a way that proves to you that you are who you say you are. This doesn't require perfection. You don't need flawless habits to live a strong life. You need consistent ones. You will miss days. You will have setbacks. You will fall into old patterns sometimes. That doesn't erase your progress unless you let it. What matters is your default, your most of the time, your return point. When you get off track, do you stay there or do you come back to your system? When you fall, do you use it as a reason to quit or as a reminder to recommit? Strong habits are not about never falling. They're about falling less often and getting up faster. Over time, your average day improves. And when your average day improves, your whole life follows.
To let your habits speak louder than your goals, you must bring your dreams down into specific, repeatable actions. Instead of saying, I want to be successful, define what that looks like daily. Maybe it means 1 hour of deep work, 1 act of courage, and 1 moment of learning. Instead of saying, I want to be more peaceful, define peaceful habits like limiting social media, journaling before bed, or taking a daily walk without your phone. Instead of saying, I want better relationships, define relational habits like checking in with someone you care about, listening more than you talk, or addressing tension instead of letting it silently build. The clearer the habit, the easier it is to live. Vague goals lead to vague action. Specific habits lead to specific change. Remember that habits eventually become identity. At first, you might say, I'm trying to be healthier, while forcing yourself to make better choices. Over time, as you repeat those choices, your language changes. You begin to think, I am someone who takes care of my body. At first, you might say, I'm trying to be disciplined with money. After months of conscious spending and saving, you begin to believe, I'm responsible with money. That shift from trying to being doesn't come from a new goal. It comes from enough repetition stacked together until your brain accepts this is just who we are now. When your identity reaches that point, your habits become easier to maintain because they no longer feel like something extra. They feel like you're normal. You can't fake this with words alone. Telling yourself, I am disciplined, while your daily life is full of avoidance and inconsistency, creates inner conflict. Part of you knows the difference between what you claim and what you live. That gap breeds doubt and self-criticism. The solution is not harsher self-talk, it's cleaner habits. When your actions align with your chosen identity, your mind relaxes. It stops fighting you with thoughts like, you're lying to yourself. It starts agreeing, yes, this is true. That agreement is powerful. It removes a lot of internal resistance. You no longer have to argue with your own mind about who you are, because your habits have already settled the argument. This is why it's so important to start small enough that you can be consistent. If your habits are too big and dramatic, you'll break them often, and your brain will gather evidence that you can't be trusted. But if your habits are realistic and steady, you'll succeed more often, and your brain will gather evidence that you do follow through. For example, if your goal is to read more, don't start with an hour a day. Start with 5 or 10 minutes. If your goal is fitness, don't begin with intense daily workouts if your current lifestyle is mostly inactive. Start with simple movement you can sustain. As you succeed at these smaller habits, you quietly build the right to expand them. Your self-trust grows step by step, not leap by leap. Let your evenings become a quiet test of whether your habits are speaking truth. At the end of each day, instead of only asking, did I get everything done? Ask, did I live like the person I say I want to be? You might not have finished all your tasks, but did you act with integrity? Did you honor at least some of your routines? Did you make one decision that future you will thank you for?
If the answer is yes, even in small ways, then your habits are still aligned. If the answer is often no, that's not a reason to drown in guilt. It's a signal to adjust. You don't need to wait until January or some special date. You can redesign your habits today in small, concrete ways.
In the end, the world will remember you not for the goals you talked about, but for the life you lived. The people closest to you will feel the impact of your habits, your patience or your anger, your presence or your absence, your reliability or your chaos. And you will live every day inside the reality those habits create. So ask yourself honestly, if I never told anyone my goals, what would my current habits say about my future? If you don't like the answer, you have the power to change the script, not by making louder promises, but by living differently, one repeatable action at a time. You don't have to announce your transformation. You don't have to convince anyone that you're serious this time. Let your habits do that work. Let them speak day after day. Wake up, follow your system, honor your values in action, and keep going, especially when nobody is applauding. Over weeks and months, your habits will build something your old goals alone never could. A life where who you say you are and how you actually live are finally the same. And when that happens, you won't need to talk about your goals so much. You'll be too busy living them.